folks, and welcome to this week's show. We've been a while, but we're back. And we've got a new guest. We've got Scott
Hi.
and Jeremy again, as usual, which is lovely to see. And
Hello.
as you can tell by our backgrounds, we're doing Jimi Hendrix. But we're not just doing the three albums by Hendrix, we're including, what's the again? Which other two we're doing, lads?
Uh,
End of Gypsies and the first rays of the
First
new
trees of
rising
this,
sun.
yeah. So they of the Rising Sun. So we've got five albums just to sort of pad it out a little bit more, and we thought it was a little bit more fair as well because the Band of Gypsies did deserve some sort of ranking as well. So Hendrix, obviously a massive figure in terms of the world of rock and roll. I mean, he's right up there in terms of probably the top 10 most recognizable musicians of all time. I think that would be pretty fair to say. I mean, huge. He has a Northeast connection, of course, Scott.
yeah, absolutely.
He has a Newcastle connection with Charles Chandler, who I famously mentioned on previous shows. My mum used to babysit for his kids and met Hendrix,
Wow,
which is
that's amazing.
it's a bit
Amazing.
surreal, but there you have it.
Yeah, that is amazing.
Yeah, so yeah, odd, very odd. That's obviously a long, long time ago. And if, yeah, so Hendrix, he's linked to Newcastle, but there we have it, which is very, very good. Hence the fact I put me Newcastle top one for tonight.
Yeah.
So, Scott, how did you get into Hendrix then?
Well, I think it probably started as in my fairly early teens. I was into rock, heavy rock was my thing. And the first band that I was into was AC/DC. I think the first album I ever got was High Voltage. And I became aware that one of the highlights of AC/DC was, of course, Angus Young. And then that got me into guitar music, and I read about them. And this name kept on appearing whenever I read about Angus Young or about rock guitarists in general. Jimi Hendrix came up, and it was just a name that really resonated with me. But of course, it's in the early 1980s, we didn't have the internet, and information wasn't so readily available. I mean, today, if you hear about a new artist, you can look up and find out about them instantaneously. So it was a while before I actually heard any of Hendrix's music, and it was really, I possibly may have seen a video of Hendrix in the meantime. I think I saw a clip of the Maui concert playing
Mhm.
Foxy Lady, and I was
Mhm.
just amazed by his stage presence. But I would say the first big introduction was like I think Christmas that year. My father got me a compilation of Hendrix. It was a Hendrix compilation. The first track on it was Hey Joe, and then there was Purple Haze and all that. So it was the usual stuff. But I remember playing that tune the very first time. It was just like I suppose perhaps because I was like anticipating, what it would be like. It really blew me away. And I also got that same year, I also got the Alan Douglas compilation, the Jimi Hendrix concerts, which is a really fantastic compilation, I think. Um, and
Is that the yellow one?
yeah, with the sort of painting on the
Yeah,
front.
that's the one I had.
Yeah, well, it really got me in. I think there's some amazing tracks on there, especially the
Yeah.
versions tone free. Um, and then, yeah, I mean, and after that, I was absolutely obsessed with Jimi Hendrix. And yeah, I mean, I just became, and he's been with me ever since. I've never lost my interest in Hendrix. I play the guitar, but I would prefer to say that I'm someone who does a good impression of someone who plays the guitar. Um, and as a guitarist, or a pretend guitarist, or imitation guitarist, I can appreciate the wonder and the brilliance of his playing. And I've had lots of conversations with people about the greatest guitarists and all the rest of it. And I suppose those are probably quite silly conversations, to be quite honest. But I
They are.
definitely,
Yeah,
you
they
know,
are.
but I definitely
Yeah.
think Hendrix um, is someone who redefined rock guitar, and I think so. I'm banging on here, but one quotation I've got for you is I think Roland Barthes wrote Mythologies, wrote about the Eiffel Tower. He said it was an inimitable object, infinitely reproduced, and I think that's Hendrix. I think Hendrix has redefined rock guitar, and everyone who picks up the guitar is influenced by Hendrix, whether they're aware
Yep.
of it or not. Um, so, of course, there are many more technically brilliant players around today, but yeah,
Yeah.
he is what he was back in his time.
I don't think we've ever had a Roland Barthes quote on the show before, but there
Well,
we
there you
go.
go.
That's
How about that?
I
How
love
isn't
that
that
quote.
great?
I've heard it
I thought you might
before.
appreciate that.
I've quoted him many a time doing an essay, but there we have it. Jeremy, how about yourself then?
Well, I grew up in the 60s. I was born in the 60s. And so Hendrix was pretty much in the air just growing up, coming out of streetcar, coming out of car windows and radios. And my brother, 6 years older than me, was quite the music fan, mostly jazz and funk, though. But he liked Hendrix and he had all the Hendrix records. So I heard that stuff coming out of his room. And I always liked it, but I think I was thinking about this, and what truly defined me as a Hendrix fan was a trip we took to Toronto, probably 77 or 78. Went up there for a conference my dad was speaking at, and we kids escaped, my sisters and I, to Yonge Street, which is where they have the Revival House movie theaters, and we saw a double feature of Ladies and Gentlemen, the Rolling Stones, and the film called Jimi Hendrix. So I was probably 13 or 14 years old, and I think watching that film was when it completely entered me and changed me. His brilliance, his genius, his just absolute musical mind that's beyond almost what you can imagine. And a friend of mine told me that that year when I came back to school, he felt like he could see it from the
Wow.
outside. Even though I didn't start dressing like Hendrix, I'm not crazy. Like I don't think I could pull off, the finery and the raiment of Hendrix. Maybe that band jacket I could have worn, but he just felt like he saw it. It was like coming out of my head,
Yeah.
and I just gradually, got more and more. I got the original three records. Then I just started buying bootlegs and just completely enthralled with him, and I still am. It's amazing that it just never ceases to bring me joy and bring me a thrill. One thing I like to do is on his birthday, every year I take my phone. I have like 80 gigabytes of bootleg music on my phone, and probably a good percentage of that is Hendrix. I just put that on shuffle, put it in my earbuds, go about my day, just listening to just Hendrix. I could hear the same song 5 times in a row, different performances, and it just brings me such joy. It's such a huge loss, but for
Yeah.
someone who has made their mark in so few years, I mean, it's a
Yeah.
mark that will never, ever be erased.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
he's
It's
a part of my
remarkable.
life. And he's a hero for me in life as well. Obviously, he wasn't perfect, but I think he was a deep thinker, and coming out with things like when the power of love exceeds the love of power, then the world will know true peace. I mean, he was a wordsmith. He
Yeah.
understood the uses of language to convey things. So yeah, I'm a dyed-in-the-wool Hendrix fan, and he'll always be my number one guitarist. But he's also just a musical genius on every level.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, interesting because I mean, I can't tell you when I got into Hendrix. It's just one of those things that it's always sort of been there, isn't it? I think when I was a younger kid, it was like because we are from Newcastle, you were much more aware of people like Hank Marvin, of course, who Hank and Bruce, who ironically used to sit next to my father-in-law in class at school, which is bizarre. But and of course, Hank's that's not his real name, was it? It was Brian. But Hank's a bit cooler though. But so when you were going, you didn't know that, Hendrix is something that sort of came later on in life, when you sort of, I was much more into punk and stuff, but then I got into sort of a little older, I got into like bands like Thin Lizzy, and it was probably through Thin Lizzy and his big love, Phil Lynnett's huge love of Hendrix was probably the way I got into them. And the first album I got was that Yellow Double Live album.
Mm.
And I had it, and my mate Neil had it, and somebody else had it as well, Chris. So it's one of those things. I think everybody seemed to have it. And I remember because when I first started a band, In fact, the first song I ever learned to play on the guitar was Wild Thing, and it was based on the Hendrix. Obviously, not smashing your guitar up, but it was based on the Hendrix version, because it's so easy to play because there's only three chords in it, and so yeah, it was that. And then obviously you listen to the albums, and as you get more and more into playing the guitar, you realize how brilliant he was because everybody does those little Hendrix double stops and the various little fancy little flicks that he does. It's fairly ubiquitous now. Everybody does it, and the influence he's had on people. I mean, my favorite guitarists are the likes of Stevie Ray Vaughan, for example, and he's massively influenced by him.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, it
Yeah.
clearly jumps out, and other guitarists that I really love, like Mick Ronson, you can still hear a bit of Hendrix, even though he's into Jeff Beck. You can hear the sort of sound, and all these guys, everybody who's come away later on in life, Hendrix is clearly the sort of he's almost the benchmark, but he's more important. He's the big influence, isn't he? In terms of his production skills, which I'm going to talk about a lot. Actually, I think he's just as brilliant an arranger as he was actually a guitar player, and
Mhm.
that's for me the thing that really jumps out when you go back and listen to these albums. The production, to quote not the 9 o'clock news, is amazing. It's absolutely fantastic.
Yeah.
It's remarkable how he was able to produce some of these albums, get the sounds out, and it was all in his head. And he was basically telling Noel Redding what to do and what to play, which caused loads of tension, of course, as we know.
Mhm.
So yeah, he's just brilliant. He really is. And for 4 years, really, was it about 4 years was the maximum that we had of him? It's such a shame because he was clearly going to go off and do something extraordinary and different in the 70s.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And we've lost all of that, unfortunately. Huge, huge loss. But there we have it. Just be grateful that we've had him. So we're going to rank the five albums, folks, which is a bit different, as we say. Right, on the screen, you can see our ranking slides here. And starting off at 5 stars is clearly a masterpiece. 4.5 is classic. 4 is excellent. 3.5's very good album. Three's good album. 2.5's fair. Two's weak. 1.5's very poor. One is awful. I'd be amazed if we get the one. And 0.5 is don't bother. We've had a few of those as time's gone on. So I'll be amazed if we get any of that. But anyway, that Ramones album and the Madness album keeps springing back. The Madness, not Madness, my head. Keep coming back to mind, but there we have it. Right. Scott, we're going to start with you then. So what have you got in at number five and give us your ranking as well.
Okay. Do you want me to say much about these albums?
You just go with what you want to say. You go with
Okay.
what you want to say.
I'll probably keep it fairly brief. But I think number five is probably Band of Gypsies for me. This is the album that Hendrix was kind of forced into producing, I suppose, via the Ed Chalpin controversy and the contract trouble that he had there. I mean, obviously, it contains some classic tracks like Machine Gun and Message of Love, and but it also has a lot of Buddy Miles in it, which it really doesn't appeal to me very much, I have to say, and that detracts from it. And one gets the impression that this is not Hendrix at his best. And I think there's been other versions of the same concert released later on, I think, which have
Mhm.
encapsulated a bit more. And I think it
I'll
probably,
get into that.
yeah, better things. So that's why I would probably go with five. Now, whether I would, I struggle to know. I certainly can't put anything really, certainly not amongst these five. There's nothing. I can't say it's certainly not weak. It's probably either fair, probably fair album. I would
Fair, so 2.5 stars, fair.
which is, it seems really hard because, like, we're talking about, for me, one of the great geniuses of music, and but by his standards, probably fair, I think.
Well, that's great, Scott. That's fantastic. So let's go on to Jeremy. What have you got at number five then?
The same Band of Gypsies. I gave it 3.5 stars. I think it's in some ways a compromised record. Hendrix was in a big rush to get it done. They played the concerts. They were doing a lot of new material. He was working with Buddy Miles. I did a whole piece on this concert, and there were actually four concerts that were performed at that time at the same place that were all recorded, and there was a big box set where they you can listen to every note he played at all four shows. There's an early set, a late set over 2 days. And it's pretty interesting some of the stuff that was never that he didn't put on this record, but he was frustrated with a lot of the sound. He didn't think his performance was always as good as it could have been. But my favorite part when I was doing the research, so at first, he always kind of had this little bit of self-deprecation about his voice. When he first went into the studio to make Are You Experienced, he wouldn't let anybody look at him while he was singing. He had this kind of self-consciousness about it. Obviously, he has a beautiful voice, a great voice, a versatile voice, but he told an interviewer, I'd rather just play. I never sang before. In England, they made me sing, but Buddy has the right voice. He's going to do the singing from now on. Cut to selecting and mixing Band of Gypsies. This is something that Eddie Kramer said, the great engineer who helped him mix the album. We get to one of Buddy's long rants where he goes on and on and on, and I could just see Jimmy's head with his hat on get lower and lower. And finally he folds his arms and rests his head down on the console. And he says, Ah, Buddy, I wish you would just shut the fuck up. But they had to put it out. It was a contractual thing
Yeah.
that he owed money to somebody, and they had to put it out. They put it out. Obviously, it became a huge hit. And but I listened to every song that he played over those 2 nights. Came up with my own alternate listing for what could have been a band of gypsies for the ages. You still get a little bit of Buddy Miles, but not all of that. And it's really those weaker songs like We Gotta Live Together is probably the most egregious on the final release. But Changes is like okay. And but when it comes down to it, Machine Gun is one of his greatest compositions, one of his greatest performances. He played it at the Isle of Wight. He played it, I think, somewhere else. There's a few recordings of it. He never did it in the studio, and I think that is one of our great losses when we talk about what we lost when Hendrix died. He was never even, I've never even heard a demo of Machine Gun in the studio. So the idea that he never got to do his thing, whatever that studio magic to Machine Gun is definitely a tragedy. It's an enjoyable record though. I love the story. He was coming into his blackness at that time as well because he didn't expect to be kind of co-opted by the rock crowd. He came up with Curtis Mayfield and Little Richard and the Chitlin Circuit and that whole R&B scene, a lot of lesser people that he performed with over the years. And I kind of loved that he was getting back into that. And he like played a benefit concert in Harlem and just incorporating a little more funk and soul into things. It's all great. It's a great album, but I give it 3.5 stars because it's compromised and you can tell.
Right, interesting. Well, we've all got the same album at like in fifth position because obviously I've got Band of Gypsies as well. I've gone 3 stars. I think it's a good album. It's not something I listen to very often, if I'm being brutally honest, because there's two or three tracks I really love, two or three tracks I don't like, but the good tracks outweigh the sort of the rubbish because Machine Gun is so good. I think is what really stands out. Obviously, this is the big step away from the sort of the band as well, isn't it? It's the whole experience thing because he's got Billy Cox on bass and Buddy Miles, and it's like a big extended funk blues jams, really, aren't they? Which is what they all are. But there's a real groove to them, which is a little bit different, and the drums definitely are different to Mitch Mitchell, which I'll talk about Mitch Mitchell much more later on.
Is it?
But I
Yeah.
mean, it starts off great. I mean, who knows is excellent, but too long. I've got written down. Sorry, something's just come on my screen now. And Machine Gun is superb, and obviously it's about Vietnam, and he talks about the whole thing a little bit as well. The drums and the guitar are great, but they also remind me, because of the doom-laden aspect of it, I wonder whether he was influenced a little bit by Dazed and Confused. because of the little rundown on it, and it's very sort of
Mm.
doom ridden. It's got that little slight feel to it.
Hmm.
Obviously, Led Zeppelin did their version of Dazed and Confused. I can't remember the guy who originally recorded most of it. But it's it's definitely sort of that sort of thing. Changes I really like Buddy Miles' voice on it. I think it's a great song, and I really love the groove on it. It sounds like the Allman Brothers. Um, I really like that. It could have easily been on their Fillmore East. It's got that sort of feel to it. And again, I'm wondering, how much he was influenced by all these new bands and guitarists coming up. Because obviously we had Led Zeppelin at the time. We'll have had the Allman Brothers flying at this point. So Hendrix is obviously aware of all those sort of musicians and all these rival guitar players who are there pushing them. And then, but the rest of the album is just not great. I mean, Power of Love. It's just
Yeah,
monotonous.
he was
You
also
know?
using, he had some new equipment. He had some new processing that he was probably just getting to know a little
Yeah.
bit. I mean, it
It's just
sounds awesome on
it's just
Machine Gun.
blues jams at that point. It could have been brilliant, but it just gets blues jammy and it's like, oh, it's not something I want to
Yeah,
listen to much. 2.5 to 3 stars. I'll go three though because Machine Gun is that good.
yeah.
I'm sure
Machine
if we did
Gun.
a top 10, we'd all probably have Machine Gun in somewhere. So it's magnificent. So yeah, 3 stars. What have you got in at number four then, Scott?
Yeah, I would go for. I suppose. I mean, I'd be surprised if we're not in agreement again. I would probably say that the first rays of a new rising sun would be my number four. I mean, the it's good in a lot of ways. I mean, I probably if I was going to give it a grade, um, it seems ridiculous grading Hendrix's work. Must try harder. I think, yeah, I mean, I think perhaps given what we said about Band of Gypsies, I feel like I was really, really harsh earlier. So I'm going to be a bit more generous than I was intending to be, perhaps. But I'll probably, yeah, I think it's probably an excellent album in the sense that, if anybody else had produced this, we'd probably be saying this is a really fine record. And there's some amazing tracks on it. Isabella, for one. Nightbird Flying is one of my favorite Hendrix tracks.
Mhm.
But there's also some really amazing sort of exploration, like Drifting is really unloved kind of classic, I think. And um, I'm quite a fan of My Friend as well, the sort of the bar song, which is pretty great. And I love Astro Man and In From the Storm. I'm probably less keen on Hey Baby, New Rising Sun, and I can probably take or leave Belly Button Window, I guess. I do feel that I also think there's one or two tracks that could have done with more work. I know that sounds ridiculous to say that. Come on, you gotta do harder. But maybe Angel is a great track, and obviously I think Rod Stewart did a cover of it, which was really actually
Yeah, it's brilliant. I was going to
brilliant.
mention it.
Yeah, it's a brilliant cover, and um, but I think I mean Easy Rider is a fantastic tune as well, and he's obviously using I don't know what the word is, phasing for these guitars now. He's got
Yeah,
like tracks and he's got that sort of thing going on, but um there's a real energy about some of these tunes that really deserve to
Mhm.
be known as classic Hendrix tracks, I think. And Freedom is an amazing opening track as well. I think like I find when I'm listening to this album, when I'm on side three and I've got to about Straight Ahead and Hey Baby, New Rising Sun, I'm feeling a little bit slight. It's gone a bit flat by that stage, and I suppose there is a sense in which it feels in places a bit stock, if you know what I mean, and not quite the same kind of level of innovation
Mm.
that you get on, say, well, the other all three of the first three albums. It's inevitable because this wasn't this isn't his. It's not entirely his work. It's a composite. It's an attempt to recreate. It's very good, the 1997 issues, it sounds fantastic. I really enjoy listening to it. The production, I suppose, by the sound quality is very strong. It's good. So it's a definitely an enjoyable album. But I feel that I think that there may be a sense of also, we say that Hendrix was only around for 4 years. So he arrived in London in September 66 and he died in September 70. But my God, he crammed so much into those 4 years. I mean, and to produce three albums is incredible by today's standards. Most artists are not producing records at that rate. So I wonder if I definitely, reading a little bit about Hendrix, I get the sense that he was almost burnt out, not because of the way he was being driven. I mean, like you say, you mentioned the Fillmore East concerts. There were two concerts a night. I mean, that was not untypical. And Hendrix was being forced to tour again and again and again. I think he was pretty tired. I think anybody would be
Yep.
exhausted.
Yeah.
So I think it's probably not him at his best. Um,
Hmm.
but it's still got some absolutely brilliant
Yeah.
tracks on it. Yeah. Sorry, I hope I haven't spoken for
No,
too
so
long.
excellent equals 4 stars, which is great.
Yeah,
Terrific.
I
Yeah.
think I think
Hmm.
4 stars. Yeah, yeah.
Yep. Brilliant. Jeremy, what have you got at number four?
Well, I'm gonna shock you maybe by
Oh
putting Axis Bold as Love at number
my
4,
God!
although I still give it 4.5 stars.
All right.
So these are almost distinctions without a difference, but I ranked it there because it's obviously a brilliant album. It's a wonderful record. It has several of his finest songs on it, but it also has some filler.
Yeah,
I believe that not necessarily filler like, but songs like Wait Until Tomorrow, Ain't No Telling, and She's So Fine, they have the feel, which is a Noel Redding song. They have the feel of they're a little more stuck in their time. They don't unleash from the 60s the way his other music does for me. I just listened to it again today just to confirm that this is what I thought. So, and I think that's due to the old art and commerce, the clash of the artist needing to time and space and experience to create, and the business demanding something of him. You have to understand, he started recording this record just months after releasing Are You Experienced, one of the greatest debut albums of all time, that had taken him years, on the road and this and that in clubs to come up with that. So it's just the forced nature of things. I could see him looking back and saying, like Rolling Stone interview 2020 with Jimi Hendrix. Yeah, ain't no telling. It's a minute and a half, a little longer than that, and not one of my best songs, but we needed a track to fill the album out. I could hear him saying that. He would be honest with himself. It's just not a great song. His playing is always good. The Wait Until Tomorrow, that funky little riff apparently was quite the challenge for him to nail it the way he wanted to. And it's obviously a great riff, but the lyrics are a little goofy and yeah, but then let's talk about the good stuff. Spanish Castle Magic is just a mind-blowing song. And I like it even better live. There's several live performances of it where it goes twice as long. I think that's also another flaw of this album, is that Chas Chandler was like, we are making a pop record. We will have no songs that go to 6 minutes. We have Spanish Castle Magic. I think I have at least one version that's 10 minutes long. I mean, the chord changes and the motivation of the lyrics, the story they tell, set him off on these flights of fancy. Obviously, he got better at playing it the more he played it. He found new grooves to go through. And then you have Little Wing. I mean, it's just an absolute one of the most gorgeous songs. I do believe that the Royal Albert Hall performance is even better than this version on the album, but it's absolutely a brilliant song. His solo is so perfectly conceived. The way there's a little soul, and then it goes into that high note. It's just so incredible. If Six Was Nine, as a 15-year-old, man, that was like my anthem. And side two, you've got Castles Made of Sand, just one of those beautiful Hendrix songs. One Rainy Wish, One Rainy Wish is also really gorgeous. Little Miss Lover is like a great slice of gut bucket funk, going back to his Chitlin Circuit days. Just love that song. And then you have Bold as Love. Once again, Chas Chandler keeping it to 4 minutes and 9 seconds. That should have been at least 8 minutes long, I think. And I believe there's longer versions elsewhere. But what a just a uplifting, it's like celestial harmony music. And to put it in this Procrustean bed of pop music singles. And it wasn't even released as a single. Come on, Chas, who cares? You know, you're dealing with one of the greatest musical forces mankind has ever produced, and you're telling him it needs to be 3 minutes long. So it's just nuts. And you can kind of, once again, you can hear those compromises. It's absolutely a fantastic album. I also learned today, I didn't realize this, but just like Electric Ladyland, he did not approve the album cover and was not happy
No.
with it. And people were complaining because it had Hindu imagery in a sense, appropriation is something we talk about a lot. But even back then, they were kind of like, what's with the Hindu stuff? Are you Hindu? Like, why are they not letting him have more creative control? So it's just kind of one of the frustrations of his career, the way he was just, constantly pushed and shoved and confined. And gradually he was getting out of that as he went on. So Axis Bold as Love, number 4 in my ranking.
Yeah, well, my number 4 is also Axis Bold as Love. And I've got it at 3.5 stars. I think it's quite patchy. I think there's some great songs on it and some not very good songs. It's an interesting album because you can really hear some influences that would sort of influence other people later on. I think Queen jump out at me loads. They were huge fans of Hendrix. ESP, which I think is terrible start. But that's what you can hear it on Sheer Heart Attack album. You can actually hear that sort of sound.
It
Uh,
cracks me
Up
up.
from the Sun, I've written it seems to me influenced by Donovan. I can definitely hear the sort of Donovan feel at the time, who was huge. Spanish Castle Magic's brilliant. Wait Until Tomorrow's sounds like Sly Stone. I really like it. I think it's a great song. Um, Again, Ain't No Telling's another good funk tune. Little Wing is brilliant. Like, it's absolutely fantastic song and a great guitar playing. The playing's just phenomenal. I've complained, yeah, and I think it's too. I've just written it's cut far too short. It's far too short on the album. It should have been much longer. Hendrix
Hmm.
didn't like the mix of the album either. I thought the whole album was rushed. I think he's right. Although it does
A
sound
little note
great,
about that.
great at
Hendrix
times. Yeah,
misplaced the mix.
is that right?
They
He
left it in a
actually lost,
taxi,
he
didn't
lost the
Did he?
tapes of side one somewhere in his apartment or
he? No,
something.
I think he left it in a taxi.
Or maybe he left it. Yeah, he
So
he
somebody's
lost it.
got him.
And then they had to do a smash remix.
Yeah,
And they try apparently they said, I think it was Axis or Bold as Love, they were never able to get back where they
right.
had it. One of the songs, If Six Was Nine, I can't remember which one,
Well,
but yeah, that there is a compromise to the mix.
yeah. Well, it's far Little Wing's far too short. I have to say it.
Yeah.
If Six Was Nine's my favorite song on the album, I think it's just immense. I think it's absolutely brilliant. You got me floating. I like the backing vocals with Roy Wood and Graham
Mm.
Nash. I think it's class. It's a really great song. Castles Made sounds brilliant. It's an absolute killer. She's So Fine is not very good. I have to say it's of its time. Little Miss Lover, I don't like it. It just reminds me of that it's just too much gone down the funk route, and it's like oh. And then Bold as Love, I've just written decent. So it's 3.5 stars. It's a very good album with some filler on it. Is
Yeah.
is my view. It could have been so much better, but it's still a very good album. So what have we got at number 3 then, Scott?
Right. So for me, the next three albums all deserve to be masterpieces. So
Right,
there's
so down as 5 stars, right?
a
Okay, fair.
sense in which it doesn't really matter which order I put them in. But if you absolutely put a gun at my head, and I guess we're not going to be the same here, and I suspect maybe this will surprise some. I mean, I would. I mean, it just. I mean, only. Yeah, I would say probably the Jimi Hendrix Experience. So the debut album, for me is a number 3. I think it is, and I think it is a masterpiece.
Yeah.
I think I don't think I think he'd struggle to find anyone producing a debut album of anything like this quality, let alone something which is clearly, a rock masterpiece. Um, the the compositions are fantastic. I mean, obviously, there's a lot of rock here. It's got a lot of hard rock, like Foxy Lady. What a start to an album. Manic Depression written in 3/4 time. There's not many sort of hard rock songs written in like a waltz. But
Hmm.
Manic Depression is that, and the lyrically it's fantastic. Um, the solo is amazing in it. And then, of course, after that, you've got Red House, which has to be one of the greatest blues compositions ever recorded, in
But
my
it's not
view.
on the American version, is it? So this is where
No,
we have a
that's
slight conflict.
yeah, yeah. I'm just looking at the English
Yeah.
version, but absolutely. It's an incredible thing to leave out. Red House obviously played it live many times, and there are many.
Yeah, I've played it loads. We used to do it. Yeah.
I mean, when that album came out, Britain was more into the blues than America. So maybe
Yeah,
that's
Yeah. Yeah.
well,
Yeah.
that's the thing about Hendrix. If the thing about I suppose the whole race thing in America was that, in a sense, Hendrix was confined to the Chitlin circuit by by virtue of the fact that he was black. But of course, within the Chitlin circuit, he couldn't be his own boss. He couldn't really do what he wanted to do. It was only he had to come to Britain in order to be able to express himself. But yeah, so he came to exactly the right place, and tunes like Red House, amazing. Um, Can You See Me? Fantastic. Lover Confusion, amazing. I Don't Live Today is one of the most, again, I mean, I would class that as a blues song. I don't know about you guys, but I think that is so radically different. It's almost existential in its profundity.
yeah.
It's an amazing tune. I'm a huge fan. I mean, I don't know. Maybe not everyone would feel this way, but I love the lyricism. The lyricism of "May This Be Love." I'm probably not as massively. I'm not as massive a fan of Fire. I think
It's a great
that's
song.
no, but for me, it's not the strongest on the album. Third Stone from the Sun, I think, is a complete masterpiece, and I think it shows Hendrix's ability to write melody, and that sort of beautiful dub kind of sort of theme that he's got in the middle of it, and it also displays this amazing ability to kind of create this tension and then to release just before the solo. And it just explodes after the sort of the big theme. Um, so it's probably one of the greatest tracks on the album. I think. Remember is more like a kind of I think it's like a Chitlin Circuit tune almost. It's almost like one that he sort of, but it's very soulful, and it. I mean, again, it just sort of demonstrates his absolute ability to I don't know, his mastery of all these different forms. Because he masters the blues, he masters soul. I mean, later on, he's going to do other things. But these are incredible tunes, and it's an incredible album. And then finally, he ends it with "Are You Experienced?" which, in a way, he probably composed just because we need a title track, perhaps. I don't know. But it's an incredible tune, and it's majestic. That's the other thing about Hendrix is that he has this vision. He doesn't do anything on a small scale. There's such ambition there, and then of course he's got these kind of sequences of lead guitar that's played backwards, which I understand people can do, but it's very hard to do it well. And Hendrix seemed to know how to sort of hit the notes at the right time, even when he knew it was going to be played in reverse. But again, amazing sort of use, and a lot of the time, he's just using, the pentatonic scale, the blues scale. But my God, what does he do with it? It's just mind blowing. It's absolutely mind blowing. So anyway, I can't speak highly enough of it, and it could only come in my view, only third to the other two albums, which I realise now is not how you see
No,
Access.
no, that's we all have different views. That's the whole
Oh,
point. There's
we'll come
no
back
right
to
Yep.
and
that.
wrong answer.
Yep.
Jeremy, what have you got at number three then?
Number three for me is First Rays of the New Rising Sun, which I give 4.5 stars. It's just filled with so many spectacular performances and songs. Yes, it is a little overstuffed, perhaps. And the thing about Hendrix is that we really don't know how he would have finished these songs. And one point of reference I have is I did a deep dive into All Along the Watchtower when I was writing about the 50th anniversary of Electric Ladyland and the process from where it started and where it finished. There's a point where he gets it to a master take with his bass, Dave Mason's guitar, Brian Jones on the vibra slap, and Mitch Mitchell on drums. That's the take. That's the song. And it's quite good. It's very listenable when he gets it finished to the point where he likes it. Then he puts it away. And then he comes back to it a few months later and does a lot of different stuff. The guitar solo gets added, but he does other things. He mixes and masters. And then right before they release it, he slows it down a hair. He decided it was a little too fast. He wanted to be a little more epic and expansive feeling. So he actually slows the whole thing down. So we don't know what he would have done to any of these tracks the night before they were mastering them or assembling the album. He had a mind that just would not stop.
Yeah,
And he would often say, that he wasn't satisfied with his performance on a song, that he needed that he, oh, well, let me just do it one more time. And he would do it, and then everybody would be like, oh my God, that really was better, even though it sounded mind-blowing before that. So we really do not know. And we also don't know about the sequencing. We don't know about the title. I was reading the booklet for the original fourth album attempt, which was called Voodoo Soup, released on CD. This was before the Hendrix family took control of his catalog. And I admire a lot of things they've done as far as sonic improvements and sequencing and a lot of great live packages. The Live at Maui package, if you want to go into that, it's a brilliant package. It's got a movie in there and booklet. I mean, the stuff they've done is just absolutely brilliant. Part of me actually kind of likes Voodoo Soup a little more
wow,
than First Rays. It's shorter for one thing. It includes some absolutely brilliant songs like Pally Gap and Midnight, are two instrumentals. They're just really, really gorgeous. I don't particularly like My Friend that much. I think it's like a loose jam. You bury that at the bottom, in the bonus track somewhere. That to me is not an album cut. Astro Man, I can take or leave. The rest of it is all great. You do get the feeling that, for example, Stepping Stone, would that be his final vocal take? I don't know. I feel like there's a little bit where he's still kind of learning the contours of the song. And but then you have songs like Freedom. Freedom is a top 10 Hendrix song for me.
Yeah,
It's
brilliant.
just and a top 10 song of the 70s. Let's face it. It's just a brilliant, brilliant song. Funny aside, on Voodoo Soup, they say the piano player unknown. On First Rays, they say that Hendrix played the piano, which is certainly possible. He could play keyboards, but I just think that there's a kind of they and I think the Voodoo Soup philosophy is like we really don't know what's going on here. We're just trying to give you a picture, an image of what he might have. Whereas I think with First Rays, God bless the Hendrix family, I think they were sort of trying to say like, this really is it. They were trying to be a little more definitive about it. And I just think that's impossible. You just can't do it. We don't know the stuff the guy had in his mind and the way he understood recording technology, arranging, as you said before, putting instruments together and just knowing when to add that little extra, whatever it was, just a little rhythm guitar part. Who knows? We just don't know those little things that we probably take for granted on the three studio albums he was able to finish. But they're all what make them so brilliant. So we just don't know. And that's why I can't give it 5 stars fully, but there are certainly 5-star songs on it. And I was just listening to it again today. There's so many thrilling, like, in the song Stepping Stone, the way it starts and the way it ends. By the end, you're just kind of like standing up and cheering, whereas at the beginning, you're kind of like unsure where you are. It's a little like disjointed. And then it just like he just takes off and you realize there's like three guitar solos going on at once. He does this a few times on these songs. And I think one of the things that distinguishes it, that shows where he was heading from Electric Ladyland, was he is using all that studio knowledge and arranging experience, but there's a little more spontaneity baked into these tracks. Somehow he's figuring out how to get that live looseness into very tightly constructed studio tracks. And that's a very hard thing to do. As we know, someone like Bob Dylan, he's always trying to get that spontaneity. And that's why sometimes his records feel tossed off. Hendrix would never go there, but he really, he loved performing live. Obviously, it exhausted him, but and he was driven too hard. I mean, that was also, we can put some of the blame for that on him because he was trying to build Electric Lady Studios and he
Yeah.
needed a ton of cash to convert this former nightclub into a state-of-the-art recording studio, the likes of which had never been seen before. So that required a ton of money. And the easiest, fastest way for him to make money was to go on the road. So, he played into that a bit. But the fact that he was, when Electric Ladyland or Electric Lady was almost finished, he was on a tear with these songs, finishing, doing, adding parts here, adding parts there, doing this, all this stuff. And then he had to tear himself away to go on the road in September
Yeah. Yeah.
1970. And we know where that led. It led to utter exhaustion and death. So it's just, it can get quite intense if you think too hard about it. But man, there are some great songs on here, and it is a fine listening experience. If it had been his fourth album, if these were the final tracks as he wanted them, I think we'd all say it was a great album.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, my number three as well matches yours. First Rays of the New Rising Sun. I've written here it's too long. Is my big gripe, and I give it 4 stars. I think if
Voodoo
it,
Soup is 14 songs instead of 17 songs.
yeah, I'm thinking more 10. So I just think it's too long. I do. Freedom's just incredible. It's basically him doing his best Albert King impersonation, and it's he's like the template for Stevie Ray Vaughan. Basically, it's brilliant. It's an absolutely incredible song. Isabella's great. Nightbird Flying, very good. I love their Billy Cox's bass playing on. He's much better than Noel Redding, I have to say.
Mm.
It's got much more of a groove and a feel. Angel is fantastic. I've got written, check out the Faces version. I'm a huge Faces fan. And Angel should have been longer again. It's great, but it's just cut down. Room Full of Mirrors. I love the sort of, is it slide guitar he's got on it? Again, Billy Cox adds a little funk tightness to the song. I really like that. It's a great tune. Dolly Dagger's great. Easy Rider is all right. Drifting, I like the tonal shift on it though. I really like that. I think that really does change
Mm.
the album, and I think that really works superbly. Beginnings clearly influences Queen. If you listen to their first two albums, there's a song that
Mm.
quite similar. It's certainly got that groove. I love that it goes into
Great.
swing and it's got a totally class groove on it. I love that.
Yeah.
Drumming, I mean, can I just say it as well? Mitch Mitchell, incredible, incredible drummer. There's no surprise he's Stuart Copeland's favorite drummer and he's Nick Mason's favorite drummer.
Mm.
He's right up there. And is it Chad Smith out of the Red Hot Chili Peppers should be giving him royalties, to be perfectly honest. He's just immense and incredible. And he got the gig through luck, didn't he, as well? It was a toss of a coin between him and Ainsley Dunbar. And it was also a great drummer, but not as good as Mitch
Yes.
Mitchell in my opinion. But
Mm.
yeah, superb anyway. And then it peters out. I think Stepping Stone, bit of a funk workout. My friend could have left it off straight ahead. Okay, hey, baby, New Rising Suns, all right.
I love
Earth
that.
Blues, very good. I like Earth Blues. Astro Man, I love the groove. And then In From the Storms, pretty decent, but it's just a bit, that album's too long for me. It's too long. And I think he should have chopped it, but he wasn't around, obviously. It should have been chopped down.
Yeah.
And
In
Don't
From the
Worry.
Storm, I have to say the version on the Isle of Wight concert is the one for me.
Yeah. And we
It's
just
so
don't know what he's going to do we, you know?
yeah.
So it's at that point. Okay, Scott, then what have you got at number two?
Right, yeah. So number two, and you might find this really surprising, I suppose, but I really struggled. I reordered these two several times. For me, I think Axis Bold as Love is an absolute masterpiece. I totally get your point. It is far too short. I listened to it today. I was driving up to Glasgow and I thought, God, that is short. It's over in a blink of an eye. But and I take the point about some of the weaker tracks, one of which, of course, is by Noel Redding, and I think it's almost done to sort of keep appease him probably,
Yeah.
and that could easily have been left off. I really would be happy not to hear
He
that.
seemed quite bitter afterwards, didn't he, when you see the interviews later on?
Yeah, a little
Sad,
bit.
really.
Shame. It's a shame, really. I imagine that Hendrix must have been infuriating to work with, to be honest, in many ways. I mean, certainly, Charles Chandler lost his patience with him as well.
Yeah.
I think Hendrix almost certainly had ADHD or something like that. I mean, his brain was firing in several different directions at once, which is what makes him a great genius. And I suppose the rest of us just have to say, well, that we just have to suck it up. And I think Noel Redding probably needed to do that. Anyway, enough about him. I think Axis Bold as Love, the reason why I rate it so highly, despite the fact that it's too short and there is a bit of filler on it, I totally agree, is because the tracks that are on it, the strength of the tracks that are on it, I think those tracks redefined rock guitar forever. And I
Mhm.
think that's why I would rate it above Are You Experienced? Because I think tracks like, especially Little Wing, but also Bold as Love, the guitaring on there, the type of guitaring that he was using was a mixture of kind of soulful Dupre type and also Curtis Mayfield, that kind of thing.
Yeah, you can hear the Curtis Mayfield
Oh,
sound, can't you?
I just think it redefined guitaring. I don't think it's ever been the same since. And I think anyone who plays guitar today will try to master those techniques. And I think, if you compare it with these contemporaries like Eric Clapton, people like that, who are considered great at the time, they were nowhere near this. This is a level of guitar
Mhm.
playing it was simply surpassed everything, blew everything else out of the water. Lyrically, it's an amazing set of album. I won't go into the whole thing, but obviously Little Wing is amazing. If 6 was 9, philosophically fascinating. I'm a big fan of Bold as Love. I think it's one of his all-time greatest tracks.
Oh,
I don't think he performed it live and sang it at the same time, but I could be wrong. Um, John Mayer does an absolutely fantastic cover version of this. It's on the
yeah.
Continuum album. And I totally admire him. And he also chose to do Wait Until Tomorrow, which is another great tune. Again, you were talking about the riff earlier on. I think that Spanish Castle Magic, amazing tune. Castles Made of Sand, I think, is an amazing tune as well in terms of, like, again, the guitar work. This was completely new. I think when people heard this album for the first time, people were like, how does he do this? How did he do it? And of course, it's easy now. We kind of know, and we've got about 1 million YouTube videos showing us how to play like this. But this was like new at the time and completely changed. I think also the way that Hendrix is playing, it's kind of like he's painting with the music. It's almost like, the art, the song Bold as Love is all about color. I think like his guitar playing is very much painting a picture, and something like, Castles Made of Sand, that riff, the coming in and going out of the water, you can hear the sand drifting,
Mhm.
melting into the sea. I just think it's an absolute mind-blowing album in my view. And that, yeah, and I get what you're saying about little bits of filler, but I just think the strength of what's there just outweighs everything else. Anyway, that's me over and out for
No,
Axis.
no, that's the whole point of it. We all have different opinions. As you say,
Awesome.
nobody's right. Jeremy, what have you got at number two?
Number two, I have Are You Experienced? As I said before, one of the great debut albums of all time. I won't repeat everything you said, but I will note that I've never listened to the UK version. I've heard the tracks as bonus tracks, I'd be curious to know about the impact of the sequencing because the sequencing for me is very important. Starting with Purple Haze is just like a thud to the skull, just break open your brain, let the light pour in, the light pour out. It also has Hey Joe on it, which was just a single in England. And, I just think it's just a different vibe. One song I'd really just like to mention is The Wind Cries Mary.
Yeah.
Just the poetry of the lyrics
It's brilliant to play as well. It's ubiquitous
blows
when you
my
go into a guitar
mind.
shop. Everybody's playing it.
I just
Yeah.
remember, being a kid and just like parsing over those lyrics in your mind, just so beautiful. And the fact that this was someone who he was secure in his guitar playing, but he was not secure in his songwriting, not secure in his singing. And here he is on his first album putting
Not
out just,
secure in his relationships either.
oh, well,
Because
yes.
this was written about a breakup, wasn't it, with Kathy Etchingham? Is that right?
I
They'd
think
had an
I
argument.
think that is
He
right,
walked
actually.
out.
Yes, that's
Yeah,
what it was. It's a
yeah,
reconciliatory love song for his girlfriend, Kathy Etchingham.
yeah.
But some say the lyrics were written when he was still in Seattle.
Ah, right.
But maybe it was a song that was looking for a meaning and he found it with her. It's just absolutely gorgeous. I used to sing it to my daughter. I just absolutely love it. So, and this was the album to me when, having heard the singles here and there on the radio, they play Purple Haze, Foxy Lady, and just hearing the full conception of it just blew me away and still does. And it's got a beautiful, it's like Axis has this very kind of light sound to it. It's not very thick sounding. Whereas this one is just like heavy and it sounds so good. Just a fantastic record. I always think about the liner notes on the back. They're very brief, where it just says, used to be an experience meant making you a bit older. This one makes you wider. Just reading that and listening to the album as like 14, 15-year-old, it just changes you. So, so great. Five,
Brilliant.
five stars. Five
Brilliant. Yeah,
stars.
we're in five stars territory. Well, my number
Yeah.
two is Electric Ladyland, which is a five-star album. It's brilliant. I mean, you can hear the influences on this. The production is magnificent, by the way. I have to say it throughout it is exceptional. And again, various influences. I mean, again, at the beginning, you can hear Queen, Sheer Heart Attack was clearly borrowed. Again, go back into it because they clearly took the opening of this and put it onto their album. So, and The Gods Made Love. It's like experimental opener, but you can hear it on Lap of the Gods reprise. Lap of the Gods, actually, the first version. Um, have you been like Lady on brilliant? So it's absolutely a brilliant song. And the album's full of killer songs. Crosstown Traffic is just fantastic. The drumming is amazing, though. I keep wanting to say how good Mitch Mitchell was. He was unbelievable. He's one of the most underrated drummers of all time. He's probably the
Mhm.
only drummer at the time who could have filled in for Keith Moon. But be a much better timekeeper. Moon's obviously
Yeah.
exceptional in a different way. He's the perfect drummer for the Who. But Mitch Mitchell could do it all. He was incredible player, and he never gets talked about enough. He's remarkable. It's just brilliant. Crosstown Traffic is superb. The guitar playing is and the production is just incredible. Voodoo Child, brilliant. Little Miss Strange. It sounds like a Cream song. It's not bad actually. It sounds like Cream. Could easily be on
Noel
Disraeli
Redding
Gears
was,
or something,
yeah,
Yeah. Uh,
another Noel.
Long Hot Summer, brilliant. For me, it's that song massively influenced Steve Miller.
Mm.
You can really hear the influence that it has on Steve Miller later on. Come On is a personal favorite. I used to do that with my old band. It's just a great song. And we've sort of thin Lizzied it up a little bit towards the end, like and I play the harmonica on it. It's a great song. Gypsy's Eyes is fantastic, of course. Love the beat and the groove on it. It's just brilliant. Works so well. Hendrix playing's just amazing, amazing. Burning the Midnight Lamps, terrific. We then get the sort of slow bit of the album, but it's still good. I would argue this is why it's second, not first.
Mm.
Rainy Dream Dreams Away, Mike Finnegan and Buddy Miles. It's got a languid groove to it. 1983 is too long, I think. It's 13 minutes long. I would have chopped it down to about five. but that's maybe me just, or six, maybe that's just me. And then I love the fact that it's Still Raining comes on, Still Dreaming. I think that's great. I love that. I really like that. I think that's brilliant. House Burning Down. It's a old school funk. It sort of almost doesn't fit on the album in a weird sort of way. And then obviously All Along the Watchtower. It's in the top five greatest cover versions of all time. And then Voodoo Child Return again at the end. Just again amazing. I mean, it's one of those albums, isn't it? It's when we did the double album show, and I didn't pick it in my top 10. It's a bit of a shock when I think about it.
I'll say I forgot that you didn't pick it.
But it is brilliant. It is brilliant. It's a five-star album. It's an absolute killer of an album. It's actually getting better the more I listen to it as I get older, funnily enough.
Mhm.
There we go. That's my number two. What have you got at number one then, Scott?
Well, it has to be Electric Ladyland, which is obviously the one you've just been chatting about.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I think this is incredible. I mean, this is Hendrix unleashed. So he's no longer working within the constraints imposed by the need to produce albums and get it out there. In some ways, I actually think that that could be quite a bad thing for Hendrix, because I tend to think that in many ways creativity works at its very best when it is under constraints. And there's a risk that certain aspects of the album are a little bit flabby. I mean, if I dare say that, it's ridiculous. I can't believe I could even say that for a second. I mean, I'd rather have Hendrix's flabbiness than 99.9% of everyone else's stuff, that's for sure. But great album. I'll only pick a couple of highlights, I think, because I don't want to go through them all. But I think Gypsy Eyes is an amazing track. I think it's like a slide he's using there, but he's got this amazing. If you listen to that track, there's something that he does a lot on his records and in playing live as well. He had this sort of sound, where he would dampen the strings, and this is part of his rhythm. And when he's doing it with Gypsy Eyes, he's like he's beating out a slightly different rhythm each time he does it. It's just incredible. And then, of course, looking at some of my notes, I think "Burning of the Midnight Lamp" is an absolutely amazing tune. I think that was produced a bit earlier.
Yeah, that was the first recording.
Yeah, it was quite early recording. "Crosstown Traffic" is an amazing. It's just an incredible song. I mean, I don't know why people are not raving about this song. I mean, it's not. It's just, to me, it's just mind-blowingly good. I think he used a comb and a piece of tracing. Yeah, but the riff itself is just mind-blowingly good. And then, of course, the other track that is one of my all-time favorite songs. I mean, I love "Come On," like you say, absolutely amazing tune. We're just checking out my notes on this. There's one I think we mentioned earlier. I mean, obviously, "Have You Been to Electric Ladyland?" Very Motown.
Yes.
Very, very unusual time signature. I think he must switch between two different time signatures, and whilst he's doing that, very complex.
I think it's one of those songs as well, like you can hear it on like the songs in the Key of Life as well. That sort of thing. He's Stevie Wonder, doesn't he?
Definitely. So I mean, God knows, where this guy would have gone had he lived. But I think, the other song that I'm trying to find is, because I've got a terrible memory. We did mention it. It's the one that, not "Burning of a Midnight Lamp," but sorry. Hopefully,
keep in mind that he played everything on that song except for drums.
Oh wow. Okay, actually, I've got
Noel Redding was at home smoking a spliff.
Long Hot Summer Night, I think.
Oh yeah.
I mean, it's just incredible. There's so many different parts to it. But again, you're talking about the arrangement and the production. He could hear things that no one else could. And I suppose, that comes out in that other that great cover, All Along the Watchtower. He saw things in that song from the Dylan album, Wesley Harding, that Dylan definitely did not hear,
Yeah.
and he took that, he made it his own. I think the other thing about it is that Hendrix reframes it within the context. I don't know. I mean, I don't know. It's difficult to know how much we impose on things when we look back, but I can't help but think that this is the Vietnam War, that we're talking about now, and that the guitar solo, about four different parts, the slide guitar in there, it's just incredible, probably the greatest cover ever created in my own view.
Mhm.
And then I think it finishes with Voodoo Child,
Yeah.
Slight Return, which has to be one of the greatest rock
Right,
songs.
riff,
Yeah.
yeah.
And I think it's almost like a summa theologia of Hendrix's abilities. I mean, there's everything. It's so much coming out of this.
What's also mad though is they allowed him to spend as much time as he wanted to do the album, get it sorted, and then they wouldn't let him give him the actual artwork that he wanted on the front cover by
I
Yeah,
know.
Linda
absolutely
McCartney,
crazy.
who did the photograph, and then they stick all the nude women on the
I
front.
know it's
Don't get us
horrible.
wrong, I had that album, and as a 15-year-old boy, it's great. Yeah. But it's like it's clearly the red cover's the one that he wanted
Yeah,
with Linda McCartney. You think, how weird. You know,
Yeah, the Linda
yeah,
McCartney.
it's so
Yeah.
disrespectful as well, isn't it, when you think about it? And it's so misogynistic as well. When you look at it now, of course, he must have been absolutely horrified at what they did.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's poor. It's pretty poor to say the least. You
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
but a lot of Hendrix's songs are written in praise of women.
Yeah.
Are kind of he's not like a whole lot of love like Led Zeppelin were producing songs that really kind of.
Yeah.
I
No,
mean, Hendrix is not like that,
no.
despite the
Yeah.
fact that he was surrounded by female admirers. He wasn't really like that. I don't think.
Whereas the cover makes it go whole Spinal Tap, doesn't it? Like smell the
Yeah.
glove.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
wrong. Right, Jeremy, what have you got at number one then?
Number one for me is the same, Electric Ladyland. It was my number one double album of all time as
Was,
well.
yes.
When we did that show, I spoke about it at length there. I think I don't really need to repeat anything that you said. The only thing I will mention is that songs like 1983, for me, took years to come into focus. For so long, I just thought it was this random assembly of this and that. But just after constant listening and also kind of trusting Jimi Hendrix, he wasn't really a random guy when you came down to it. Everything was very planned in his head. And to me, that song has just only gotten better with time. As it's not even a song really. It's a piece. It's a piece of music. It's a studio construction. It's an escape from war-torn streets of Chicago and jungles of Vietnam. It's a
Yeah.
way of just saying, I want out.
Yeah.
This this way of living offends me. Black people should be free. They should have rights. Vietnam should be free. We should not be in Vietnam. I think he was deeply wounded and upset by these things. House Burning Down is about the streets of
Yeah.
Chicago,
Yeah.
streets of New York, fires, the riots. That's what that's about. And it's a double-edged sword because is he critiquing black people for burning down their own neighborhoods? Or is he he's also saying, well, this is what they've been driven to. It's like he's trying to talk about profound things, but he's still putting it in the context of usually rock music. With 1983, it's not really rock music anymore. It's just a total immersion in what can I do in the studio? What colors can I paint? How can I just
Yeah.
develop a piece of pure music that is not constrained by any rhythm, tempo, verse, chorus, and I think it's absolutely majestic, absolutely brilliant. And the fact that we could get something like that on a rock record in
Yeah.
just how many years after, just 10 years after Elvis Presley, it's just the rapid progression of this stuff. And it makes you think, had he been born in another time, he would have been a very different kind of composer. He
Yeah.
would have been using the instruments that he had at his disposal. For him, the studio was an instrument. Everything in there, the mixing board was an instrument. I don't know what he would have done with Pro Tools and Logic, where you can have limitless tracks, but he saw that all as a way of he may have been, I don't know if he was synesthetic, but he talks a lot about colors
Yeah.
when he talks about
Yeah,
music.
that's a fair point.
So
Yeah.
he used that mixing board like an absolute, like the way other people use a guitar or a saxophone.
Yeah.
And that's, where it all came down to it. And, Chas Chandler couldn't hang in there. It went on too long. Just getting all along the Watchtower took too long. Noel Redding was like, I'm out. So Hendrix played the bass himself. And, uh, but on the other hand, there's also more guests on this album than any other Hendrix record. And think about this, talking about spontaneity, Voodoo Child, one of the great jams of all time. It still thrills me. And just brilliant work by Steve Winwood, that
Oh,
organ
Steve Winwood's
playing.
brilliant.
Maybe his best organ playing ever, though. I mean,
Great
he
musician.
doesn't strut like that too often on other records. And Hendrix would give him that space. And when you talk about the
And
Noel Redding
Steve Winwood
song,
was only
I
about
just think
20
there,
years of age at the time, wasn't he?
oh yeah,
He was like a kid.
it's insane. When you think about Little Miss Strange, there's a lot of, I feel the love, even though he and Noel were often butting heads. I feel the love where Hendrix is saying like, I'm going to make your song, your minor little song,
Yeah.
into one of the greatest recordings of all time. And when you listen to the guitar parts,
Yeah.
it's an act of love. It's just absolutely beautiful. Number one, 5 stars, 10 stars, however many stars are in the sky for Electric Ladyland for me. It's just one of the key achievements in recorded history.
Well, it
Wow.
is. It's brilliant. My number one is the debut I experienced, and it's
Mhm.
the American version because if it was the UK version, I would dock it a point. So I think there's a
I've
significant.
been listening to the wrong version.
That's very
I think there's a
interesting.
significant difference between the UK version and the American version. I
Yeah.
really do. Um, I mean, it's just brilliant. I mean, Chaz Chandler with his 3 minute records and all the rest of it, which he would go on to master, by the way, with Slade, who I am a huge fan of, may I add. Slade, brilliant, one of the great bands. Anyway, I mean, the musicianship, this must have just come out of space as an album when it was first heard. People must have gone, my God, what the hell's this? Because the musicianship was incredible. The production on a 4 track at Olympic Studios on 4 tracks is remarkable. You listen to your headphones, and there's all these little things appearing out of nowhere, and the phasing going off across the album, and that, and it's incredible. It's incredible. For me, this album's as good as Sergeant Pepper's all day long. I think
Wow.
the production is that good. I
Yeah.
think it's so exceptional. Um, and it kicks off Foxy Lady, which is it's I'm laughing because brilliant. It's so cool. You imagine putting that on for the first time. You hear Foxy Lady as an opener. I must have
On the
nicked.
American version, though, it's Purple Haze.
Sorry? Oh, is that
The
right?
American
I
version
didn't
is
realize.
Purple
So
Haze.
on the version I've listened to is it's slightly different. So there you go. Purple Haze even more so. My God. Purple Haze, brilliant. But I've got the Foxy Lady, which is brilliant. Manic Depression. Oh, I love the swing on it. It's just brilliant. It's and the guitar. Then it goes into overdrive. It's sensational. Red House. Yeah, brilliant. Just shows his background and it's great. Can you say me? It's poppy but brilliant. It is. It's poppy but brilliant for its time. Land and Confusion again, class, just brilliant. I love the fuzz sound he gets on it. It's so different. I don't know if today dedicated to the Native Americans. I love the drum beat on it as well. And I know it sounds a bit stereotypical, but it's superb. And again, it shows you Hendrix is political as well. And vocally,
Oh
he's
yeah, yeah,
terrific. Lyrically, he's superb. Underrated lyricist by a country mile.
definitely,
And vocally,
absolutely.
he's clearly
There's a live
in
version.
it more than anybody else, I would suggest. He clearly took his style from Hendrix, you know.
Yeah,
Makes me
there's a
love.
live version of I Don't Live Today that is devastating. I think it's
Yeah,
from the Hollywood Bowl,
I'll check
and
it
you
out.
just, but yeah, it's devastating.
I'll, I'll check it out. Um, May This Be Love, great drums, great production. Wind Cries Mary. Um, it's not on the British version, is it?
I hadn't realised that.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
it's
that because I was wondering where is this song?
mad because you think, how is Wind Cries Mary not on? It's one of the greatest guitar bits. It's everybody learns to play it. It's brilliant riff. It's dead cool. It's hardish, but it's brilliant. And everybody has subsequently taken that guitar style, or not everybody, but a number of people. And
Mm.
it's just brilliant. Fire is just kick ass. It really is. It's just brilliant. And again, it's the template for most of the Red Hot Chili Peppers albums.
Yeah.
Um, Third Rock from the Sun, psychedelic brilliance, and clearly for me influences Fleetwood Mac a little bit with a Peter Green sound, and
Mm.
I'm a huge Peter Green fan. I think he was just amazing as a guitar player, and it's clearly influences a little bit that, which of course would then go on and influence the Beatles as well when they took influence from Peter Green, ironically. Um, Remember is a good soul song, and then finally, Are You Experienced? It's just when I first heard that as a kid, I think I seen it on a TV show, and they put some accompanying video to go with it. And I thought, wow, that's incredible. And then when I first heard it, I think the only other song from that era that blew my mind as much when I first heard it was Good Vibrations. Because I remember
Mm.
playing Good Vibrations about 4 or 5 times off the trot because I couldn't get away with I couldn't believe how unbelievable it was. And I thought, no. And I played it again and again and again. And Purple and uh, sorry, Are You Experienced is the same. I think it's incredible. The production is it's just mind blowing. It really is. You got the extra tracks, Hey Joe, Purple Haze, which we mentioned, Stone Free, man, Highway
Oh,
and
wow.
Highway
Yeah.
Child. It's like incredible, and they didn't get on the album. Um,
Yeah.
it's phenomenal. It's weird because I did a debut show and I forgot Hendrix and it didn't make it. And I
Mm.
now think, wow, and there's some great albums on there. Go and check out the show, by the way, folks. There's some absolute killers on there. And you're thinking, wow,
Mhm.
how did I forget the Hendrix album? That's just mad. It's a brilliant album, brilliant musicianship, right across the board. He was just unbelievable. But the production is sensational considering they had 4 tracks. All great
Yeah.
songs on there, right across the board. So yeah, there we go, folks.
Right
Jimi
away, you knew we
Hendrix.
were.
What could have been? We could be here forever talking about what could have been and what should have been. It's just such a huge, huge loss, obviously. Massively influenced everybody that subsequently came. Prince, in terms of the production, more than the guitar. Prince is more influenced by Santana, I would argue.
Mm.
But certainly the look and the groove. He
I think
clearly
just
could
showing the
Sly Stone, of
possibility.
course, subsequently at the time, and everybody else, as I've said earlier on, Stevie Ray and all those guitarists who came afterwards, they all took big chunks of Hendrix. And I don't get into the he's the greatest guitar player of all time, and no he is, and no it's him, or oh no it's Van Halen. They're just all brilliant. You just have to accept the geniuses of all of these guys, whether you like them or not. It's just all down to personal tastes. Because I would pick other
But
people, and there we have it.
I
And we
think
all,
I think one of the things though that sort of really defines great guitarists is the way that they create their own sound. And
yeah.
I think one of the things to say about Hendrix is that everyone wants to sound like Hendrix. You
Well, as I always say, a great musician or a singer or a guitar player by a couple of notes. So we
know?
all know Hendrix's sound within a couple of notes. We all know Hank Marvin's sound. We all know Brian May's sound. We all know who all these guitarists are within a couple of notes or one note in some cases. Whether they're technically brilliant is another matter, but
Yeah,
because they've got a sound that makes them unique. Johnny Marr is another
yeah,
one, isn't it? We know exactly who these people are just off a couple of notes, and they're all brilliant.
Yeah.
So there we go, folks. There's only 5 albums. Send in your list, but check out our other shows on Genesis, XTC, Roxy Music, Kate Bush, etc., etc. Go and check them out. See what you think, folks. Iron Maiden as well. It was a more recent one of Steely Dan. So go and check them out, folks, and give us some feedback. Okay. Till the next time, from Scott, Jeremy, and myself. Take care. Look after yourself. Bye bye.
right.